Alright, metalheads! Welcome back to another episode of Metal Verbalizers podcast. This podcast is for you that want to discover new fantastic metal. We feel like there aren't enough podcasts that support the underground scene. That's why the whole purpose of this podcast is to find new and or smaller bands and tell you about them. In this episode, we are going to talk about a band that is included in the new wave of Finnish heavy metal. Finland has some fantastic heavy metal, and in this episode we will bring you the band Neverfade. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Perfect. So nice to meet you. I'm Lassi. I'm from Neverfade. Lassi Landström from Neverfade. And I'm happy to be here at Metal Verbalizers.
Thank you very much. You're very, very welcome. And it's very nice to have you guys on. We are going to talk a little bit about influences and something like that just in a minute. Yeah. But why don't you talk a little bit about why you started to do music? Because you are the singer, right?
Yeah, I'm the singer and songwriter, one of the songwriters. We have basically for this album that we're releasing at the end of the month, there's songs by me and one of our guitarists. But I'm a singer in the band. My first instrument was actually guitar. So I'm a guitarist, was a guitarist first and then a singer. And sorry, what was the question? How did I start music or?
Why did you start to sing and be in music? Now you play guitar as well, but where did it start? Was it like from a parent, or was it by yourself, or how did everything start?
Right. So what happened? So I started playing when I was 10, 11 years old. And I think what happened was that we had music classes when I was in elementary school, like 5th or 6th grade. And we had a drum kit at the music classroom. Everybody had to learn the kind of basic beat,
Yeah.
And turned out I had a pretty good ear for like rhythm, right? I got a hang of it fairly quickly, and so the teacher gave me permission to go practice drums on my own time to the music classroom, and so I wanted to be a drummer because it was fun. And then I asked for a drum set from my parents for Christmas, and then I got a guitar because we lived in an apartment, not a house, so there was no way I'm getting a drum set.
Yeah.
So the deal was, you get this or nothing, take it or leave it. So I started playing the guitar instead, which actually I'm pretty glad I did. And but the reason that I wanted to, similarly at the same time, I heard Iron Maiden for the first time in my life around that same year. I heard The Trooper when I was out skateboarding with my friends. Some adult guys who were skateboarding at the same park had like their car stereo was blasting out music, and one of the songs was The Trooper, and I was just glamored. I was hypnotized immediately. I never heard anything like that, and I fell in love with it immediately. So I started listening to Maiden quite a bit, and then that coincided with me getting the guitar. So then I wanted to be able to play Iron Maiden. I wanted to start doing that. I wanted to do that. That looked so good, so cool, and looked, sounded so good. So I started getting guitar lessons, and actually found a few like-minded guys in my school, another friend who also played the guitar, and another friend who was also pretty good at drums. So he kind of took the drum part, and then I forced my best friend who wanted to be a guitarist. I forced him to be a bass player because that's what we needed. So I told him, okay, we don't need a third guitarist, but we need a bass player. So that's what you're going to be.
Well, I mean, Maiden has 3 guitars, so why not?
Yeah, but we already had the bare minimum, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And you can't play Maiden without someone doing the Steve Harris stuff. So
Yeah, true.
I was like, look at this guy. He's the coolest bass player in the history of the world. So just be him, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, we started playing. We were like 12 years old. Played our
Yeah.
first gig at the end of school year thing, which was kind of funny. You know, these 12-year-olds with dyed long hair, dyed black, and 12-year-olds playing Black Sabbath covers to the whole school
Yeah.
and the parents, and everybody was like, what are these kids, why are they playing Black Sabbath in this school
Yeah.
auditorium? And that's where it started. Yeah. And there it took off from there. I don't play in the same band obviously anymore, but that's how the kind of whole journey started.
Yeah. I love to hear that. And you mentioned some of the bands that I love as well. So we actually saw Maiden 2 years ago here in Sweden. So
Yep.
and it was one of the absolute best shows I've ever been to.
That
Hands
was the
down.
Future Past tour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there in Tampere for that
Yeah.
show, and I'm going to see Maiden twice actually this year. I'm going to
Nice.
Helsinki, and then I'm going to Stuttgart as well.
Okay.
So, McBrain just retired from touring, so
Yeah.
now it's like now or never. You have to go see as many shows as you can before
Definitely.
someone else gets any ideas from the band.
It sounded
So
like Steve Harris maybe was up for it as well to retire.
I hope
But
not, and I'm very interested in seeing how the new
yeah.
drummer works out, because obviously I've only seen Maiden with Nico McBrain, so
Yeah.
that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. That's a little bit about you, but let's get into the band, Neverfade. When was the
Yeah.
band started?
We formed the band in 2022.
Yeah.
In the autumn. So a bit of an origin story there. So me and one of our guitarists, Jesse, and our bass player, Camus, we used to play together in a band called Crimson Day
Yeah.
a few years back. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, I left that band to do other stuff, moved to Germany and that sort of thing. So I had to leave. And yes, I already since left Crimson Day, and Camus is still a part of that band. But we got together. I had come back from Germany to live in Finland again, and we got together because during my time abroad, I had written quite a bit of songs, and Jesse had also written quite a bit of songs on his own, and we just got to talking that, hey, wouldn't it be cool to play together again? We have all these songs in our kind of just waiting for a band to play them, and let's do something. And then we got together, had a few beers, listened to the demos that we had done individually, and decided, okay, yeah, this can work. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And then we decided on the name, Neverfade. At that point, just that kind of spoke to us, came from one of the songs. Just okay, well that works. We just take these words and pull them together, and started looking for other musicians. So we found a drummer, Artti, who plays on the record, but has since left the band. And then Yuri, who is our other guitarist. Found a rehearsal space, decided on which one of the songs from the kind of backlog that we had, which one of the songs would we start rehearsing. And the whole of 23, we just rehearsed vigorously, just rehearsed. We didn't play any shows, anything like that. We just rehearsed the songs. We rehearsed around 9 songs, which are the songs that ended up on the record as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, then last year we decided to go to the studio, do a couple of lay down a couple of single tracks, and start playing shows. And then we did. Last year we played, I think, 8 or 9 shows, and recorded the album, released a few singles, and now it's taken off a little bit more with the full album coming out at the end of this month and a new single coming out this week.
Cool. So you talked a little bit about the origin of the name and such as well, which is great. What are some of the main influences for the band?
Well, I can speak for myself, obviously, and a little bit maybe from Jesse's point of view, as in like as songwriters.
Yeah.
So I've written most of the songs on the album, and then Jesse has too. But I think that, well, if you listen to the tracks that I've written, tracks like Assassin or Phantoms in the Wind, or the upcoming single The Blade Part 1, which is coming out on Thursday, you can pretty much hear the kind of, well, for me, it's obviously we talked about Iron Maiden, which is my favorite band in the world, but then Judas Priest as well, like especially songs like Assassin and a couple of other tracks have that very clear Judas Priest vibe to them as well. And more also kind of more powery stuff. Blind Guardian and is a huge influence for me, at least for when it comes to kind of arranging vocal stuff. And yeah, I mean, these kind of traditional heavy metal bands, like from the 80s, power stuff from the 90s as well as some newer stuff. Like I like Swedish bands like Ambush and Enforcer. There's a really really good. There was a band called Steel Wing that I don't think they play anymore. They're formed anymore, but that's a really good band that I really like. So a kind of combination of those kind of traditional classic legends and then these kind of newer traditional heavy metal bands, I think, are where I draw a lot of influence from. And then Jesse has a bit of a more like, he likes, in addition to those bands, his focus is more on the kind of death metal, melodic death metal, that sort of stuff. So he plays in a band called the Yasser Arafats, which is very technical death metal. So he has this kind of more technical touch to he writes very technical riffs and very cool melodies into his songs. And also like bands or artists like King Diamond, Merciful Fates, and Nightfish. Those are like something that he, I think, draws a little bit influence from, in addition to bands like Ailstorm and and older death metal bands. So I think there's a really nice mix of different kinds of music, like coming the kind of legendary side coming from me, more pulling from that well, and then pulling from more kind of modern stuff and more technical stuff, and then we arrange the songs together. So someone brings a song to the rehearsal space and says, okay, well, this is the demo that I laid out at home. Let's listen to it and see what we can do. Like the drum beats are not, this is how it's supposed to be. We give it to our drummer and say, hey, what do you feel like this should be? And then we arrange it together.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I love that when bands really have those, in your case, very different influences with the technical death metal stuff, which can make the sound so much more interesting. I love that. Something that I thought was very hard was to describe your sound, and compare it to another band. How would you go about that?
I don't know, actually, because I think for this record, we found like a very unique sound that is very hard to kind of compare. And I think what that also is that our guitarists both have their kind of very unique sound to themselves. So when you put those together, it creates a very unique kind of sound to the band. And what we also wanted was this, at least for me, I wanted to have the vocals to be very much on the front, but also not just that there's one lead vocal and then there's kind of backing vocals. I wanted it to be more like a kind of all-round stereo sound. Is that I can't really
more in your
explain
face
it, but
type of thing.
And I think that came from listening to kind of bands like Queen and Blind Guardian as well, like doing the vocal arrangements on the record. But I don't know. It's very hard. It's a very hard question because I think it is a very unique sound, and I don't know how to kind of describe it in a sense of, okay, we sound like this band when it comes from the sound. It's easy from the like what the songs kind of feel like and the structure of the songs and how they're written, but when it comes to the specific sound, I think we have something unique.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I couldn't really think of another band myself. We usually ask that question to give our listeners a picture of what the sound might be, since we don't really often play the actual music in our episodes. So we want to paint a picture of this sound. But yeah,
kind of a reference point. I would
exactly,
say, like,
exactly. Can you explain a little bit more about the image of the band, like artwork, and how do you like visualize the band in that sense?
So, we have kind of this sort of we've tried to go in our artwork, for example, to have a sort of story there, not necessarily anything very much written out, but we use this for these artworks for the singles and the album cover. We've used this Indonesian guy, Driope, who's amazing, and so we wanted to kind of, because each song I've written all the lyrics myself, and each song kind of tells a story in its own way. And we wanted to tie those things together in the artwork a little bit, so representing kind of characters from those songs in the artwork, and then the events happening in those songs as well. So and then pull that into a kind of common color theme, and using the same artwork artist all the time, to so that it takes you kind of on a journey, right? So in if you look at the artwork that we have from the first single, Phantoms of the Wind, there's an hooded kind of freedom fighter character there, who is also then on the front of the new album. But then you can find different kind of nods to different songs in the album artwork, like they're holding stuff that's from the previous artwork. You can find it there, and it kind of references stuff that we've already done in different artworks. And then very early on we decided on that we want to have a kind of unified look, both on stage and in our logos and artwork. So we decided a lot of like our stuff is in the same color palette, deep purple or violet theme. So as you can see from the shirt that I'm wearing, or on definitely. And we wanted to kind of have that stuff, and then bring in, if a song like the new song that is coming out this week is about the Crusades, so we wanted to have something that takes you to the Crusades. But when the song with other songs like Assassin and Phantoms and the new album cover, we wanted to have a kind of cyberpunk feeling to it as well. So the city's kind of neon lights and this sort of Blade Runner-y vibe to it, so that it kind of also brings the kind of sci-fi element that we have in some of our songs into it as well. So that's kind of, we wanted to play around with different themes, but still tie them together into one cohesive narrative.
Yeah, definitely. I love that as well. And something that I also love with your music is that it is very scaled down. There aren't like too much big synthesizers and that sort of a thing.
Yeah,
at least at the 3 songs that we have on Spotify currently. And I kind of love that. We have a little bit of a piano vibe in one of the songs. But otherwise, I kind of love that, because then the music is more real, and more what you see is what you get, if you know what I mean. So that is something
I do know what you mean.
That is something that I really like. But yeah,
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
Sorry,
could you go into a little bit more about your lyrical themes? Are there like a similar theme among the songs, or Do you like go for a similar theme on one album and then go to the next, or how do you go about that?
So, I mean, the album is in no way a concept album. So each kind of song stands out on its own, except we have a two-parter.
Yeah.
So we have the Blade Part 1, and then we have the Blade Part 2. But that was a more of a songwriting thing that happened. So it didn't come from it just I just happened to write Blade Part 1 first, and then that just kind of came to me that okay, well, I want to use these same riffs but in a different kind of different context, and then that became a two-parter song. But when it comes to kind of, I think there are some underlying themes when it comes to the lyrics on the album, like even if they don't necessarily tell a cohesive like story arc, but in many of the songs you can kind of get similar themes, like okay, we're fighting against overwhelming odds, there is no hope but we still persevere, and that sort of we want to pull through even if there's it seems there's no hope, and this sort of like yeah, just the willpower and the will to fight kind of comes out of those. There's a lot of like, well, there's a song, the finishing song on the album is a 10-minute epic, and kind of starts, it's called The Horror, and it's a sci-fi epic, but it kind of starts with the same kind of themes that okay, we're pulled into this peril and we're, you know, there's no hope, and but then it kind of turns around on its head and, you know, goes into hopefulness. And also another theme I think is that like in a lot of the songs you get this kind of it's now or never vibe that okay, there's no turning back, we need to, you know, do this now, and that sort of let's do it, let's go punch these villains in the face kind of thing. Even if it's a song, you know, about assassins, it's like okay, well, no turning back, we've already assassinated the guy, or you know, we are freedom fighters in Phantoms in the Wind, and you know, this the only way is forward, that sort of thing. So those kind of themes can be found a lot in the songs. And yeah, I mean, but then when it comes to the themes of the songs, it really differs. So I myself, I like to write a lot about history or like things. There's a song on the album called Voyager, which is literally just talks about the Voyager space probe. Like that is just and which is in my opinion, my personal opinion, is the best song on the album.
Nice.
And yeah, or to tell like stories. If I'm not telling something about history, you know, the Crusades or this Voyager space probe or, you know, something like this, then I want to tell like a fantasy or sci-fi story inside in the song, that it starts somewhere and takes you somewhere. Yeah.
Cool. I love that. I think we have gone over quite a few great things about your band, and I really personally like the music. I think that the songs we have currently are fantastic. I usually do a top 5 list, and I guess it would be a top 3 list at this point. But we'll see. It's definitely gonna be a top 5 list when the album comes out.
I'll send you a pre-listening link so you can get to listen to it in advance. Yeah.
Thank you very much. But what are the plans for the future for Neverfade? You mentioned the album at the end of the month. Do you have any shows like planned, or how is it gonna be?
Yes. So, well, the immediate thing, we're releasing a single ahead of the album, which is this week. I don't know when this is coming out, but it's the 16th of January when the Blade Part 1 comes out, with a music video as well. And then, yeah, the album is going to release on the 31st digitally. We're also going to release a limited edition physical release, so C cassettes and CDs. Not vinyl for now, unfortunately, but cassettes and CDs are coming. We're not sure if we can get them in time from print for the 31st. That's when the digital album drops in Spotify and all other streaming platforms. And after that, we're going to do a bit of touring. So we're playing, I think, 5 or 6 shows from February to May. So we're playing in Finland, in Seinäjoki, Tampere, which is where we're from.
Yeah.
And then we're doing another leg. So we're doing Oulu and Rovaniemi, and then Pori. And
Nice.
For the fall, we're planning on doing more shows. So we're going to Latvia in August, and then Helsinki, it looks like September, and we're trying to do something in Sweden if we can.
Cool.
At the end of the year or very early 26. So either either it's going to be November, December, or very early in January in 26.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, we're going to be touring kind of on and off. We're taking the summer off because our drummer is multiplying. So so we're going to take the summer off and focus on writing new songs and
Cool.
focus and rehearsing those songs, and hopefully before the end of the year we will have a new song to drop. We're trying to aim for getting a new single out at the end of the year, like
Really
in
cool.
the second half. And then yeah, next year we'll see. We'll try to maybe drop another single early 26, but it's very early to say at this point. But the plan is to just drop the album and do as many gigs as we can this year, and then focus next year for releasing new music and try to aim higher. So 2 more shows, maybe some festival shows if we can, and also visit neighboring countries, Sweden. And we haven't been to Sweden yet. That would be great. So that is planned, and once that is locked in, we will announce it.
It would be fantastic to get you over here.
Yeah. Where are you? Are you based in Stockholm or?
North of Stockholm.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you know where Kapellskär is, that's quite close. It is one of the main harbors north of Stockholm.
Okay. So it's not, yeah, okay, yeah. But close by.
Yeah.
Like fairly.
We're closer to Åland.
Okay.
Yeah. Just north of Stockholm. But we have gone to Stockholm to see shows. So
yeah, well,
it was not long ago that it wasn't long ago that we were in Stockholm to see one of the thrash metal bands that we have featured before.
Cool. That's cool. I mean, we'll see what we can do, because we have this this kind of movement or a project called New Wave of Finnish Heavy Metal.
Yeah.
And we're planning on doing something of a kind of a tongue-in-cheek Finland versus Sweden thing, either at the end of this year or early next year. Kind of okay, we'll come to Sweden to a couple of the bands from the alliance, us and maybe Ratbreed or someone, and it's nothing is locked in yet, but that we're trying to make that happen. That okay, we would have a night in Sweden, kind of Sweden versus Finland, and then we would do the same but in Finland. So we would bring in a couple of Swedish bands and play maybe in Helsinki or Turku or somewhere. So that's in the plans, and then my dream would be to also go to Gothenburg. That's one of my favorite cities in the whole of Nordics, and I would love to go play in Gothenburg at some point. So we'll see what we can do.
That was where we saw Maiden 2 years ago.
Yeah, Ullevi, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I remember watching.
Go on.
I remember watching when I was a kid. They in Midsummer Day in like 2004 or something, or 2005. They showed like in the Finnish televisions. They showed a live concert when Maiden was playing Ullevi.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that when I was like 13, watching it from the television at the summer, at the cottage, at the summer house with like really shit image, quality coming straight from
I know
the
the
leather.
thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's time to start to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Is there anything more that you want to shout out about the band? We have the social media, obviously, and if everybody that watches on YouTube, you can check the description. You will find the band's socials down there, and I
Yeah.
highly recommend to go down and follow the band.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It's been great. Yeah, I just wanted to shout out one final time that we have a new single, The Blade Part 1, and the full album Thieves in the Night, 31st of January. And then anyone watching in Finland, come see our shows in Seinäjoki, Tampere, Oulu, Rovaniemi, or Pori. And we will announce new dates for after the summer shortly. And thanks so much for having me. It was very much fun.
It has been an absolute pleasure for us to have you on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And yeah, stay metal, yeah?
Same to you. So, if it sounds like you might like this band, do not hesitate to go and check them out. If it is not what you usually listen to, go and give them a chance anyway. You might find something new that you will enjoy. I find new bands and kinds of music all the time when we do this podcast. And most importantly, if you do like this band, make sure to support them in any ways that works for you. Easiest way to support them is to follow them on their social media. It's very easy and it's completely free. And of course, I would like to encourage you to buy their music. If you like what we are doing here on Metal Verbalizers podcast, bringing you new, awesome metal to enjoy, don't forget to follow us on our social medias as well. This way, you will get updates on what bands we are going to verbalize next. Maybe you have a band in mind that you would like us to feature. Don't wait to tell us about them. We always take suggestions in consideration when we plan our episodes. Did I mention our YouTube channel? There we also have a video version of our tour stories. You do not want to miss this. And also, now, from Season 4, we're going to have a video version of our Verbalizings as well. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Metal Verbalizers podcast, Verbalizing Neverfade.